Hey, what's up, guys? Peyton Anderson back again with Next Level Athletes. I'm thrilled to have today's guest, Jakobie James, on the podcast. This past season, Jakobie put together 16 receptions for 214 yards and a touchdown. But on top of this, he's a father to two kids, which we will get into later on in the episode. But first off, thank you, Jakobie, for taking the time today.
I was good, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm thankful. I've seen your podcast before. I had a teammate before, Freddie Roberson. He
Mm-hmm.
was on the podcast as well, and I appreciate you having me, man.
Of course. And starting with your recruitment out of high school, how would you best summarize what the experience was like for you as a whole in terms of, anything you might have not expected or thought of going into it?
My recruitment process in high school was, I think, extremely unique. I'm from Redlands, California. I went to Redlands High School. So my freshman year, I was on the varsity team, but I did not play. I was just dressing out, suiting out every week or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
that was actually like a process for me where I got to see the older guys and just see kind of how that recruitment process went. I saw some guys on our team that were pretty good and they could do some pretty good things, but they didn't have grades or something on their record. Like there was always something that came up where they weren't getting other offers. But so going into my sophomore year, I knew that I had to step up on the scene. I had to make some plays and just make a name for myself and kind of start that recruitment process there. But my sophomore year, I think I had a decent season. Didn't have anything special happen, but I just did my job. Didn't make any plays I wasn't supposed to make. And then my junior year was when I really kind of came on the scene. I kind of had a breakout year and I kind of did some great things. And I started getting, letters in the mail from SDSU, UW, Pac-12s, some Power Fives. And I was like, man, I could really go big with this thing. Like, I could really go all out.
Yeah.
And then, I'll go to camps and like the coaches would sit me down after the camp, like, we want to offer you a scholarship, we do this and that. But then when they got to my school, they would see my grades. I'm talking about, man, I had like a 2.1 like overall
Yeah.
GPA. They're looking at me like, yeah, man, you're a great player, but you won't even get accepted into our school. So I was like, man, so I never really, I just thought about it like, man, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go D1 regardless. I think somebody's gonna offer me, not gonna care about my grades. I was just kind of hard headed at the time, but um, that was, so my junior year was my breakout year, and then Utah State, they were like, you know what, we're gonna offer you a scholarship. We want you to come to Utah State. We're gonna get you down here, for a visit, whatever. And when I went on my visit, I did a camp there. I had a really good camp, tested really well. They were like, "We're gonna offer you for our scholarship." And I said, "Okay, here, I'm committed. I'm committed
Yeah.
here." I couldn't sign any papers because I was at the time I was not academically eligible to receive a
Mm-hmm.
Division One scholarship, and my senior year I was gonna do whatever it took to get there. So I couldn't sign any papers, and then unfortunately, halfway through my senior season, Coach Farmer, the guy who recruited me, and the head coach, I can't remember his name at the time, but they ended up taking a job at Texas Tech. And then my offer was no longer available on the table. So for me, I was like, no, they stripped my offer, and I kind of like cut all the other coaches out because I was like, I'm going to Utah State. This is where I want
Yeah,
to
you put
go.
all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And I had a teammate, Alfred Edwards, who was my high school. He was a teammate for me from high school, about a couple years older than me. He was there, so I was like, I'm gonna go link up with him in Utah State. We're gonna be good and everything. And then when my offer got stripped, man, I had nothing, man. They told me this. They told me this like December, like first week of December.
Yeah.
Signing days like the next week. So I'm like,
Are you in panic
man,
mode
like,
now?
yeah, I'm kind of like stressed out. I'm like, oh man,
Because you're
I'm
gonna
done for.
start searching and stuff and trying to
Yeah,
reach out and
yeah,
hopefully like somebody responds in time
yeah.
and stuff.
So I actually have a crazy story. So, um, my fiance now, she was my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend in high school. We went to, I believe it was Chili's, and we're sitting at Chili's. I'm talking to her about, like what we're gonna do and what we're
Yeah.
planning for, and so I get a call from like I didn't really notice the area code on the phone, but
Yeah.
I'm
You just are like, "Eh,
I'm
I'll answer it.
yeah, I'm
Whatever." So
answer
it's
I
probably a
answer it,
telemarketer.
yeah, like a spam or something, and I
Yeah.
answer it, and when I answer it, it was Sac State. And Sac State, they're calling me like, "Hey man, we seen your film. We heard everything, all great things about you. We want to get you on a visit and talk about getting you a scholarship." I said, "Oh, that's amazing! Like I'm there, whatever. Just name it, whatever." And they gave me a date, but the date was it was the weekend. It was the week of when my son was gonna be born. So
Oh,
I was like,
yeah. Can't
I
miss
was like,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So I told him I was like, okay, I'm kind of in a predicament right now.
Yeah.
Um, I want to go, and I'm still interested 100%, but my son might be born that week. And they were like, "Oh, you're having a kid," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to have a kid." Whatever. And then they were like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll keep in touch." And they never
Oh,
called
and
me back.
then yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they never called me back. So I was like, okay, for sure. Um, and then I'm sitting there, man. I'm like contemplating joining the military, man. I'm contemplating,
Yeah, because you're
you
just
know,
like you got a great call, and then one
yeah,
thing, and then
yeah,
you're like, well, now I'm right back to where I started at again.
exactly. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, like I'm thinking about I'm about to have a baby on the way. I gotta start paying bills, providing, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, I love football, but I gotta take care of my responsibilities first. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, you know what, man, it might be over. I'm walking to class. I never forget. I'm walking to class, and I get a phone call. And I look at the phone, it's a 509 number, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, who the heck is calling me
Yeah.
509? So I answer the call, and it's like, hey, Jakobie, it's Brody Reader here, Eastern Washington offensive coordinator. We want to get you up here, man. I'm like, huh? Like, and
Okay.
I'm like, what are you like? Well, I'm like, hey, I'll be there, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know where you
Yeah.
guys at. What is like, I
Yeah.
didn't
I
even
don't
know
know
who it
where you.
was.
Yeah. I don't even
Exactly.
know the
So
area code.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm hype. I'm like, okay, cool. Just text me, send me details, whatever. Everything is coordinated out. I call my dad. I'm like, hey, dad, the school just called me. I need you to come with me. He's like, I'm there. Like, called off work, everything. So like he called me, I believe it was on a Tuesday. We got the details figured out for that weekend, that next weekend. I believe it was like that Saturday or whatever. And when I got to Eastern, man, like I got here and I'm looking around. I'm like, man, what the heck? I'm like, we're in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. Cheney, Washington, man, ever been up here? Nothing. It's just straight. All you got is football, school, and work. That's pretty much it. And I got up here and I was like, man, I wasn't feeling it. And I'm like, man, this place is whatever, whatever, and I didn't like it. But when I got to the facilities, man, we don't got great. If you ever been to Eastern, we don't got great facilities. We don't got great, we don't got anything shiny out here. But when you start meeting the people, you start talking to the coaches, talking to the players, and then you start just seeing the culture that's built around this program. It's like it just brings you in, man, and it makes you just want to go all in. You know what I'm saying? That's
Mhm.
what really kind of sold me to go to Eastern was, I felt like I feel like I can come here and just put my head down and really just bury into my work, and it's been a blessing in disguise, man. I'm happy I'm here.
Of course. And looking back on that experience as a whole, what would you say you learned most about yourself as an athlete and individual?
With the recruitment process, or just overall my career.
Um, just overall with recruitment, just kind of just what you learn reflecting back on that as a whole.
Looking back at the recruitment process, and I think now it's a little bit different. Because I believe like when I was coming up in high school, like that was when social media really started to like kind of sway your path into Division One
Yeah.
sports. I think like when I was going up, because I think I graduated 2019. I think like 2016, 2017 was really when guys were like blowing up on social media. Like you
Well,
had
yeah,
the
yeah.
Buckies, the Darnay Holmes, you had Jaden Daniels, Elijah Hicks. Like you had these guys that were just from California that were blowing up. And I just remember like I would see guys like that I'm destroying them on Friday nights. Like I'm
Hmm.
200 yards. I'm getting picks on their head. I'm dancing in end zones on them, and they're getting offers to Boise State and Texas Tech and Texas A&M. And I'm like, man, like this is crazy. Like social media can really sway a whole person's life. And for me, what I learned was if you really are good and you really are putting in the work, you're really dedicated, you're inspiring yourself every day, you're gonna come to work regardless of success. It's gonna come to you. It's gonna find you. Because at the end of the day, like Coach Best, what he told me, one of the coaches he told me that always stuck with me was preparation creates luck. And when he told me that, it was like looking back, it was like I was really working out. Like I was working out every day. I'll go to the gym, go to the field, and I would do that twice a day, every single day. We have a hill by my grandma's house, and I would run that about 15 times a day. And
Mhm.
when I would think about it, looking back, like all that work that I put in behind the scenes is what got me here. And I believe like if you really put the work in, like things will really work out, you know. And I think I had to find that out at a young age because, you know, all the adversity I faced in high school, I had to find a way to really like push myself, you know, and not discourage myself and not get down on myself because I had to understand that, you know, it's really bigger than me. You know, my whole family, they look to me. I had my uncle text me, you know, this morning and was like, you know, I'm proud of you. Like I'm proud of you because nobody in our family never made it. I had a lot of athletes in my family, but
Mhm.
none of them really made it. So I think finally, like looking back on the process, I think it helped me become a better player. You know, all the adversity I faced, but also to help me become a better man.
Of course. And kind of speaking back in your high school career, notable accolades of yours included those such as first team All Citrus Belt League selection as a junior and senior, as well as competing 4 years in track and field. Looking back on it, what would you say were your all-time favorite memories, but also what you thought your school was most known for?
So I think, you know, when I was before I was even born, my uncles they went to Redlands High School. And when they went to Redlands High School, there was like a culture and a legacy built around Redlands High School. It's called the Long Blue Line. And the Long Blue Line is pretty much like our school was established 1891. I believe it's the
Yeah, I
longest.
looked. It's the
Yes,
longest standing on its like original like
yeah, yeah,
place or whatever.
exactly. So we had some. I mean, like ever since football was created for high school, it's been there. So
Hmm.
there's some legends that came through our school, and my uncles were, you know, one of those. They were part of that legacy. And I remember when I got to RHS, the first thing I did, I went to the Hall of Fame room. And I remember when I went to the Hall of Fame room, I saw my uncle's names. My uncle was a linebacker, Samuel James, great player, but grades, you know, got kicked out of school. My uncle
Yeah.
Zach James, great running back, probably could have played. He had a full ride to Oregon, unfortunately, grades. And you know, these guys were in the Hall of Fame, right? They're the Hall of Fame. Their name was on plaques on the wall. And I remember my freshman year, I told myself, I said, I'm gonna be the best player to ever leave the school. You know, screw how long this school's been here. I'm gonna be the best player to ever leave the school.
Yeah.
And I remember like that was the mentality I had every single day. Like, I'm gonna show everybody on my team, my coaches, that I'm the best player to ever play here. And I just remember like looking back at it, like just from my freshman year to my senior year, I remember that like it went from me having to tell myself that I was gonna be the best to me to have to like humbly say that I'm not the best because people would
Hmm.
see how good I was, see how hard I worked, you know, how much progression I had throughout my career. They were like, you might really be the best player to ever do it. And when I look back at it, it was like, you know, like my best memory I had was you know, our rival school, Redlands East Valley. You know, they had some guys. They had you know, you ever heard of Christian Polk, like running back for the Eagles? They had you know,
Hmm.
Jalen Phillips who plays linebacker for the Dolphins right now. They got some NFL guys that came through that high school, and you know, everybody was like telling me to go there, like you need to go to Rev, you need to go to Citrus, you know, all my rival schools because they were putting out division more players than we were. And I just remember looking back and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna stay loyal to my school because not only is my legacy built here, but you know, my teammates were looking to me to, you know, every Friday night they're looking to me to lead them. And I can't just
Yeah.
leave my players behind, you know, that's not who I am, that's not what I stand for. So I just remember like we're playing Redlands East Valley. It was my junior year. You know, we're down, I think we're down 14-0. It was a really tough game, but I had like one catch for like 25 yards or something. And it's
Hmm.
third quarter. They just punted the ball. We're on a 3rd yard line. And I just remember like we get in the huddle and I tell my quarterback, Chris Aguilar, one of my good friends, I told him, I said, look, I'm gonna run a fade. I said, throw the ball up to me no matter what. I don't care what luck you get. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm triple. They put a receiver on me, Billy Bones. He plays receiver for Boise State. They had him guarding me all night, and he wasn't clamping me up or anything, but he
Mhm.
just couldn't get the ball to me, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, throw the ball up no matter what. So I remember the play. He, you know, ball snap, boom, step back, just 3 steps, balls up. I go up, I moss the corner, turn around, and I just go 97 yards, score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that was the loudest I ever heard my stadium, man. That stadium was chanting my name, going crazy. You know, people had signs of my face up in the sky. It was crazy. And I just remember taking my helmet off, and I'm like, this is my shit. Like this is my shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Excuse my language, but I was like in that moment, like that was when I stamped my legacy. Like that was when I stamped that people are never gonna forget who I am because I embarked my legacy on this school. So that was probably the one moment for me in high school. I look back, I'll never forget. Like that was the moment for me.
Of course. And kind of on top of this, being a multi-sport athlete in high school, how would you say that helped you most when it came to taking that next step into college football? But also, what advice do you have to younger like generations about not just sticking to one sport and just kind of staying active and just trying like multiple sports throughout a year?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I remember, first, everybody knows football season's first. So my freshman
Yeah.
year, football's always been my dream. So I knew I was going to try to play football on the divisional level. But after my freshman football season, I remember I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, I'm just going to work out or do 7-on-7. And I was like, you know what? Like, let me try to play basketball. Unfortunately, like I took too long to play basketball. Like I tried to join too late and that didn't work out. But I remember I was like, I'm going to track. And when I ran track, man, like I like instantly fell in love. I like, I would do like I did long jump, I did high jump, I did, triple jump, I did 4x1, 100, 200. I did all these events, man, and like, what I found out with track was like your running mechanics just naturally start getting better the more you run. Like your body starts to like naturally adapt and adjust to
Hmm.
whatever you're doing. And what I found out was is like when I would run track, like I enjoyed it. I just loved it so much that I just wanted to keep doing it. So I just remember, like for the younger generation, it's like 7-on-7 is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It'll get you recognition. It'll get your name out there. You'll get some good football.
Good competition and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, like if you can do as much sports as you can, I mean, I would suggest you do it because even like playing basketball, like there's a lot of stuff as a receiver where like
Yep.
it translates to football. I mean, like we talk about releases, like if you're a receiver and you're doing releases, like if you have a great crossover, the chances of you having a great release game is pretty high because you got to look at the mechanics of it. It's just about fluid movements, right? And basketball can help you that the footwork of basketball, the pivots, right? That helps
Also
you,
got positioning and stuff too, sealing
exactly,
off defenders
exactly,
and stuff like that.
exactly. And then even like when you go for a rebound, right? You go for a rebound, it's the same thing
Good.
as going up for a high pointing a catch. So you look at the way other sports can translate to football, man. It's actually like really insane. So that's kind of what I would say for the young guys is like enjoy your life. I mean, 7-on-7 is great. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
if you go to camps and you're really the truth, coaches are gonna see you regardless. If you have great grades, I mean, it's your resume set for you. So I mean, I would say enjoy your high school years. You never get them back. Like I wish I played basketball more. Like I played basketball with the team every summer. I played with him my sophomore year, I believe. But I mean, I wish I played my senior year. I mean, I had a son, but I mean, I still could have played. So I mean, looking back at it, I mean, you only get high school once, so enjoy your years for sure.
Of course. And moving forward, you saw yourself redshirted, but still able to play in 3 games, with the
Mhm.
ability to play up to 4 games, still redshirt. But before we get into that 2019 season, looking back to your first days on campus, moving into your place, what was your mindset first entering college, but also what you found most difficult in terms of adjusting yourself, college life as a student, becoming more independent, but also adjusting to the college game at the same time, football wise?
Yeah, so I remember, my mindset in high school is like I'm the shit. Like I'm
Yeah.
that guy. Everybody knows me. I mean, every time, even when I go back home today, people still know me. So it's like I'm leaving this environment where I'm literally like the star. I go anywhere. I go out to eat. People know me. People see me in the newspaper. The police know me. Everybody knows me. Police know me in a good way, by the way. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah, no.
yeah.
Yeah.
So coming from that to coming to Eastern, and in my mindset, I'm like, I should have been in Utah State. I could have went to UCLA. I could have went to these schools. I could have went to UW. I'm like, man, I shouldn't even be here. I should be there. I should be here. I should be there. And so I'm coming in here. I'm like, man, I'm about to start right away. I'm about to be dominated. I'm about to be doing this, and that. And then when I got here, like my first couple of days, they were easy. The first practice we had wasn't too bad. It's a little rookie practice. You're by yourself, but nothing too big. But I remember the first practice I had with the vets. I get into practice and my coach Pat McCann, amazing guy. He threw me in there, and he was like, he put me at slot, and I'm like, man, I don't know the playbook, I
Yeah,
don't know the formation,
you're like the one
I don't know
spot
the
you're gonna
ball
stick me
thumping
at
stuff,
there.
I don't know what's going on, right? So I'm like, man, this is crazy, but so I'm out there and like I'm messing up, everybody's yelling at me, line up, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like looking at my, I don't know the play, and I just remember like like really thinking about my high school, the high school difference between high school and college was like the speed of the game, right? And Eastern, we're known for up tempo offense. Like we go fast, right? That's what we're known for. And I just remember the tempo was so much different. And even when I would catch a ball, I'll catch a ball and I would make a move. And I would make the first guy miss, but then like I'm like, okay, I'm gone.
There's like
No.
yeah.
Yeah, the corners, the safeties are faster. They got better angles and better
Yeah,
players,
there's
right?
like
Like,
six guys around you then. You're like, I don't know how do you get over here
exactly.
that fast?
Exactly. So I'm like, man, I'm like the speed of the game, the players, they sped the game up for me. And it was like, man, this is I was like, I was a little bit overwhelmed, honestly. I was like, man, like I gotta really adjust and really like put this work in. I gotta get better. So I remember like that first couple of weeks, man, it was all about adjustments. Like I had to really like I would stay up till, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We had to wake up at 6:30. I would stay up to 1 a.m., 2 a.m. like studying the playbook. And I still wouldn't
Yeah.
understand it. And it was just tough. And then it was like when I was growing up in high school, I was with my grandma, I lived with my grandparents, I lived with my cousins, I lived with my aunts and uncles, I lived with, my girl, my son. And then when I got to college, I was literally on my own. Like I didn't have anybody to cook for me or help me with homework or whatever. So, I was like, yeah, like I'm really on my own. I gotta grow up and I gotta really apply whatever coaching I can get. I gotta really apply it to the next rep because I don't know I'm gonna get my next rep.
Hmm.
And we had some guys here, man. We had Andrew Boston, Freddie Roberson, Talolo Jones, we had Drake Dorton. Like we had some NFL guys. 3 or 4 of those guys made it to the NFL. So we had some guys that really were, like that ahead of me. So I was like, yeah, I gotta make, my reps count. So yeah, that was like the biggest adjustment for me.
And moving forward in that 2019 season, you saw yourself make your collegiate debut against Northern Arizona, as well as your first collegiate catch of 6 yards against Idaho State. Looking back on your debut and your first career reception, what was that moment like for you, but also your approach and mindset kind of going into that debut?
I remember, my freshman year, our first game was University of Washington, and I remember I was like, I haven't seen my family for like a month up to this point, and they told me they're like, hey, if you make the travel roster, then my family like will come up and we'll go to the game. And I was like, oh shoot, I gotta make the roster. I was trying to see my
Yeah,
son. I want to see my family. I got to.
yeah,
And I was probably like 11th in the depth chart this time. We had like 14 guys. I was like kind of like closer to the middle. I had to get to 6. Like that was where I had to get to. I had to get around 6 or 7, I believe. And I was like, man, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. So I worked my butt off, for the next couple of weeks, and I got to that travel spot, and I just remember like, when we get to UW, we unfortunately we lost by a lot. It was kind of embarrassing actually, but
yeah,
we got blown out that game, and I remember my coach was gonna put me in. He was gonna put me in against UW my first game, and I was excited because UW was my dream school at the time, or before I got to Eastern. But and I was like, man, I get to play against them, whatever. I'm gonna go out there and make a catch.
yeah,
And they were like, Coach Best was like, nope, save his game, like we might need him. And I was like, so throughout the season, they kept saying, save my games. They wanted to save
yeah,
the playoff because they thought we were gonna make it. But I went to my receiver coach and I was like, look, man, I want to play. I think I can actually go out there and make some plays. And and that was when he said, told me NAU pregame, he was like, you might get in the game today. And so when I got in, so I remember he finally was like, okay, you're gonna get in. But I finally remember going in the huddle and I was nervous as hell. I was
yeah.
like, man, I'm nervous,
You're like, where do I
whatever.
go? Just tell me where I'm supposed to run to.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know it. My good friend Freddie Roberson, you interviewed him before.
Hmm.
He told me exactly what I needed to do. I'm out there with him. He's a redshirt freshman, I think, at the time. So he's telling me like, yeah, you gotta go here. I'm like, all right, cool,
Yeah,
got this. I'm like, all right. And I remember the NAU had a corner. It was like a Baltimore. He went to the Baltimore Ravens for a little bit. I can't remember his name, but
hmm,
he was like their best player. And I remember, I went and I blocked him, and I blocked him pretty good. And I was probably like 175, 180 at the time.
yeah,
And he was like, wow, like you got some shit to you. And I was like, yeah. And then I ran a route against him, and I did a pretty good route. And he was like, yeah, like you're gonna be pretty good. And that was when
yeah.
I knew I was like, okay, like I could hang over here. I could stay. I could do my thing. I could really come in here and do some things.
Kind of
So
that validation that you kind of were looking for a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
Of course. And looking into the 2020 and 2021 seasons, you made a couple starts along with your first career touchdown against Idaho, but also being named to the Big Sky, a conference all academic team during that time. On the field wise, what would you say you saw the biggest improvement during that period of time? But also your mindset and your approach to life off the field and in the classroom, earning academic honors.
Yeah, so I remember going in. We had that COVID season, obviously that spring year of 2021, I believe.
Yeah, they
Um,
like merged it or something.
yeah, yeah. So it was like 6 games regular season, and then we had a playoffs. We lost to NDSU first round.
Hmm.
And I just remember looking in the room, and you look at the room. You look if you guys you ever look at who we had in that room. It was a deep room. Like we were probably like 8 or 9 deep that year. Honestly, guys who could start at other schools throughout the nation.
Yeah,
And I remember looking around, and I'm like, man, like if I gotta play, like I'm gonna have to really really
lock
separate
in.
myself. So I remember that COVID year, I messed my hamstring up, during camp. I come back from messing my hamstring up, and then you know I tore my AC joint. I dislocated my shoulder, tore my AC joint right before, like I think it was like 2 weeks before the first game.
Hmm.
And then the crazy part about it is when I was going to get my shoulder checked out for that, my car unfortunately like broke, like I was driving down, and then I spun out and I crashed. So I got a
Hmm.
concussion. So now I'm like hammies messed up, shoulders messed up. I have a concussion. I had to sit out for a week. Now my spot down the roster is just I'm like I'm not even traveling at this point.
Hmm.
And then I just remember like I just told myself like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes, right? I'm gonna do whatever it takes because I want to be successful. So that COVID year, I didn't really get a good like off season camp. I didn't really get a good off season training. I didn't really get an opportunity to really elevate my game. And then I remember, that summer, like after that season, we went to summer, and then when we went into summer, man, like we had like me, it was my friend Nolan O, and my friend Robert Mason the third. We would wake up every day at 6 a.m. and we would do just footwork, run routes for about hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And then 2.5 hours later, we would do a workout with the team that's like 2 hours. And we did that every day, every weekday for about 2 months. And I just remember that work right there really elevated my game. Like when I came into fall camp, people were looking at me like holy shit, like who is this guy? Like we don't
Hmm.
even recognize this dude. And I remember like that work just changed. It just changed my perspective, changed my mindset, and it really like that was when I really got into developing my game and really trying to just figure out what my game was. And unfortunately, we had some guys that were deep. So I'm sitting behind NFL guys that are seniors, and I'm just looking at like when I get in the game, I'm gonna take advantage of my opportunity. But at the same time, it's like I'm not. When am I gonna get in the game, right? So
Hmm.
it was that 2021 season, that fall. I mean, it was tough, but then some injuries happened. And I got my opportunities, and I think I took advantage of my opportunities. I probably could have did better, but at the end of the day, I did what I did. So my mindset going into that 2021 fall was, show guys that you might be on the bench, but you're an NFL player on the bench, right? So that was my mindset. And for off the field, it was, you know, my that summer going into that 2021 fall, I had my second child, I had my daughter. She was born in
Hmm.
July. And I just remember like my coach, he was talking to me. He was like, look, like if you want to be like on your kids about academics, like you got to be on yourself academics.
Hmm.
And I never had bad grades in college. Like I've learned my lesson. I don't have D's or F's. I always have like B's and C's. But I was like, what, you're right. Like I need to have A's. So I remember that fall, I believe that I had like a 3.93 or something like that. And I believe like that was when I got all academic Big Sky. And I just remember like that rewarding feeling I felt from that hard work that I put in like those in those classes. Like, I made the dean's list as well for my degree. So it was kind of like looking back, it was like putting that work in and like being able to tell, like, my kids grow older, they're gonna be like, well, what'd you do? And I was like, well, I made the dean's list with 2 kids playing Division I football.
Mhm.
But like, what's your excuse, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like
Yeah.
my mindset going into is like no excuses, like get it done. Like you have to be able to get it done because in the day, my kids are going to have to grow up and look up to me and be like, Dad, like, what was your mindset? What did you do?
Yeah.
And
When
I'd
things
rather
get
tell them I did
tough.
it the right way than to say you need. Yeah, I rather tell them I did it the right way instead of saying be better than me. Like I
Mhm.
did the right way, now it's your turn, right? So that was my mindset.
Of course. And I'm looking back at this past season of 2022. You appeared in 8 games, making 6 starts. But on top of this, you tied a career high in receptions with 4, along with the season high in single game receiving yards with 63. Plain and simple, what do you think went well for you? What you struggled most with? But also anything you wanted to perform better in that you felt you came short of last season?
Yeah, so in 2021 we played at Montana. I believe we played at Montana. It was in Missoula. It was a playoff game. It was the last game of 21 we lost. I remember I wasn't even gonna play that game because I like strained my Achilles, and I
Hmm.
remember I was hurt. I couldn't even really run. But you know what? When your adrenaline gets pumping for a game, you don't really feel your body no more. It just
Kind
goes
of
away.
forget about it.
Exactly. And I remember when we played that game, I think I only played like 30 snaps, but I think I had four catches, 2 touchdowns for like 97 yards or 98 yards. And I remember like in that game, like I just felt like everything slowed down. Like I felt like everything was just like it was fluid. We had a great quarterback, Eric Berry at the time, but I feel like everything was just easy. So I remember like that being the last game of 21. I was like, I balled out that game. Like I'm coming into 22, and it's gonna be different, right? It's gonna be easy. And I just remember that like I worked my butt off, like I always do. Every day I worked out. We did speed training at 5:30 in the morning. Then I would lift at 11 in the morning, and then I would come down. After that, I would go do some drills with the receivers, and I worked my butt off that year. And when 2022 came, I'm expecting the work just to apply. I'm expecting the work just to come in. Like I'm expecting everything to just go smooth because I worked my butt off,
Hmm.
and that wasn't the case. I remember first game. I had a decent game, but I just remember like I'm out there and like I'm getting open and I'm doing the right things, but it just didn't feel like how I thought it would feel. And then we go play Oregon, and when we played Oregon, and they had some dudes. They had Noah Sewell, Christian Gonzalez, Justin Flo. There's some
Hmm.
more guys in that team. They had Bo Nix, right? They had some guys there, right? And Christian Gonzalez, he's a cornerback. If people don't know, he just got drafted. I think it was,
By
I
the
believe, the
Patriots, I think. I think
17th pick.
I'm pretty sure Patriots, yeah. Whatever first
Yeah,
round Patriots pick they had, yeah, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I know it's the Patriots. But yeah, so and our scouting report on him was like he's one of the best corners in the nation. I was like, all right. I watched film on them. They played Georgia, and I'm like, yeah, this dude's legit. Like he's
Hmm.
really up there. So I remember that week, man. Like my mentality in that game was attack his ass. Like I don't, because me personally, I don't run from nobody. So my
Hmm.
thing was I'm gonna attack his ass every play. And even though my stats don't show that, the film shows that I got after him. And I think I did. I performed well, but unfortunately, the game plan we had for that week wasn't the best, and
Hmm.
it wasn't working for what that defense, what they ran defensively. So I think when you look at the stats, it was like all of us didn't perform well, but it wasn't that we didn't play well. It was that the maybe we got open, but maybe the ball went somewhere else. Maybe we got open, but maybe you know the quarterback didn't have time. Right? It was always something different, and I think that's just the story of 2022, man. Like that season, you look at all of the players that played that year, and we all didn't really have great numbers, but it wasn't that we weren't great players. It was like things just we all kind of came into 2022 like we're just gonna run through people. We're gonna win every game. We're gonna score
Hmm.
50. That's what we always do. That's what Eastern does. And it was a big reality check. Like, yeah, we're not like that. We're not as good as we think we are. It was humbling, man. And that whole 2022 season was humbling. Even when I played, I believe I played 7 or 8 games. I dislocated my elbow against Portland State. I believe it was like the second quarter. I caught a ball. I juked the guy, did a spin move. I put my arm down to stay up, and the guy in the corner, he ran. My finger got stuck in the turf, and he ran through my elbow.
Oh,
It popped out of place. I ran to the sideline. I'm like, I'm in pain. I'm like hurting.
yeah, that hurts. Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it hurt
assume
really.
that would hurt,
Yeah, like as soon as he hit it, I felt like three pops, and I was like, yeah,
and you're
I
just
ran.
running over, like,
Yeah, I'm holding it, and then I get to the sideline, and in my head, I'm like, I can't get hurt. Like I got to get back in the game.
yeah,
So I popped my elbow back in place. It felt good for 2 seconds, and then swelled up, and then I knew that was the end of my season. So
yeah,
it sucked, and I remember like watching my team struggle those next couple of weeks. It was really hard, but I think that's what it helped me grow. Like coming into this season, like this off season, I've worked. I've always been a hard worker, but I'm working harder than I ever worked in my life, and
hmm,
it was humbling, man. That whole 2022 season was like it was really eye opening for me. It was a reality check for sure. So I'm coming to this season not expecting anything, but just expecting to earn stuff and really just fight for every yard, fight for every catch, fight for every win. Honestly, for my team. So that's my mindset after that.
of course. And kind of on top of this, when it comes to who you are as an athlete and individual, what would you say has changed the most when comparing yourself to your first day of college to where you are now?
I think my first year coming in, I thought I was. I would say I was real. I would say I was real cocky. I was really cocky. I had no self awareness. I believe. Like I think, like
Hmm.
looking back on who I was, like if I ran a bad route, there's always an excuse.
Yeah,
Oh, you got out in 6 steps. Oh, well, the reason why I got 6 steps is because I did this. Like, no, you got out 6 steps. You need to get out three. You need to get out 4 steps, right? Oh, your release was this, or that's not what you're supposed to do. You ran the wrong route. What are you doing? And I would just make excuses for all these different things. But it took a lot of it took a lot of great coaches. It took a lot of great players around me to
hmm,
just tell me like, man, shut up and listen. We're trying to help you. Like we're here for you. We're here to make sure you're doing things the right way. We're all in this together, right? And I think that was the biggest thing was like having, the players around me, the people around me, my amazing fiance, like she even like we would watch films. We would be sitting on the couch watching film together. She's like, what are you doing? Like, you're
yeah,
better than me. What are you doing? And I'm like, you're right. Like I shouldn't
yeah,
do that. And that was when it was like everybody around me's telling me these things and it's like it wasn't clicking. Until
yeah.
finally
It
I
was more one year out of the other, and until you like
exactly,
saw that there was a reason for that.
exactly. And it turned into a when I put my pride aside and I really sat down and put my ego away
Yeah,
was when I started to develop better as a player. And like even now, like I'm still learning and I'm still trying to get better as a person, player, and a man.
yeah, always.
But like now it's like I think I really put my ego away. And even if like a young guy tells me something like, "Hey, I think you could have did this release, or I think you could have did this at the top of your route," I'll listen to it, and it's
Yeah,
because instead of saying like you're a young guy, you haven't done anything, what's your resume? I'm
yeah,
looking at
you're like a freshman, like you can't talk to me like that.
yeah,
More of just like,
yeah,
oh well, maybe you see something, he can help me with something, I can help him back, and just kind of team
exactly.
chemistry and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
camaraderie is different, and I think camaraderie is all about my ego and my pride. So I would say my first year, man, I was prideful, I had ego, I was cocky, and then now I think I'm more mature. I'm more willing just to learn. Like I'm here to learn. I think that's what life's about is learning. So I think that's what I'm trying to really figure out. But I think I'm getting there, and I think I'm on the right path for sure. I just got to keep going. So that's what I think I've learned from year one to year four.
Of course. And we talked about it when looking at the roster and specifically into the wide receiver position room. Amongst yourself, you have some returners, such as Elton Chisholm, as well as your friend Nolan Ulm. But on top of this, you have multiple young faces at the position. You formerly played with Freddie Roberson, who's now committed to Mississippi State. But all
Yeah.
the other guys, especially at your position, how have you helped your teammates and the younger faces as to what it means to be a complete teammate, but also what have they taught you the most, like over the years?
I would say Freddie's taught me a lot about mentality, right? Like his mentality and the way he like his perception of things is what he's really gave a lot to me. I've always had like this killer mindset. Like my favorite basketball player is Russell Westbrook. Like growing up watching him play, him, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Jimmy Butler,
Yeah,
like these guys that just want to come out and just take your heart every day.
they
Like that
didn't
was my
care. They didn't care what
yeah,
happened. They just went
yeah,
out there and did it, no matter what. Yeah,
exactly. That was my mindset in football. But when I talked to Fred, like the way he approaches the game, like when he's in the game, he talks shit, but he's not talking shit to you from a standpoint like him talking a lot. He's gonna say some shit to you, and he's gonna run your ass over next play. He's gonna say
And
some shit to
it backs it up, yeah.
you. Yeah, like, and it wasn't like he was really talking. It was more like he was just doing things that were making other players. I would see the corner get frustrated.
Yeah, pissing you off.
I seen the corner look at his defensive coordinator in the game and was like, "What do I do?" And I like, I
Yeah.
see now, I was like, "Damn, like that's crazy." So
Yeah.
that was a lot. Like that was a lot that I try to apply to my game too. Is like, say some shit here and there if you got to, but at the end of the day, like just play. Like go out there and just make your frustrate your opponent, make them feel like there's nothing they can do to stop you. Because at the end of the day, when you break their will, it's broken for a while. You break their confidence, you break everything about them. So that's kind of like something he gave to me. And then, there's a lot of guys that just drop gems on me. Like, we got Andrew Boston, he's helped me a lot. Lolo Lima Jones helped me a lot. But, guys like EC3, Efton Chisholm, man, he's a great guy, great teammate, great player, man. This dude's phenomenal. He can do anything. And him coming in, like, he's just been really like, I think something that I took for him was like, he was, he's a really good teammate, but he's not going to judge you. Like, if you're going through something, if you feel like you're, like you can't talk to anybody, like Efton will sit with you and be like, man, what's good? Like, what you going through? How's things going for you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he'll check on you, he'll say what's up to you. Like, he's not gonna try to exclude you or feel like you're not like a friend or a part of the team. Like he'll try to bring everybody together and do some different things and try to bring some juice. So he's a good person. And you got Nolan Ohm and Robert Mason. There's some two guys that I really appreciate, some of my closer friends. And Nolan Ohm, this dude was like Tarzan, man. This dude was crazy. Like this dude, he
Yeah.
came in, bro. I'm talking about he came in eating raw sweet potatoes. Like this dude, we're traveling. I can't remember what game. I think it was UNLV, but we're on the plane and he forgot to cook his sweet potato. Like he said he ran out of time. This dude just started eating it like it was a gigantic carrot. I'm like, bro, we look at him, we're like, what the
Yeah.
heck? Like, start eating raw sweet potato, like just started just munching on it. I was like, bro, this is crazy. Like, and he just did crazy stuff. Like, man, he does these lake plunges. You ever seen those videos? Lake plunges. Like
Yeah.
he'll break ice in a lake and then sit in there for like 3 minutes. Like what? Like neck deep. I'm
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
he has a podcast. It's called Make It Happen. He's doing some really good things. Like we have a big camp coming up in Canada, the Make It
Yeah, I
Happen
think I
camp.
saw something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big camp coming up. It's going to be probably the biggest camp in Canada for sure this year. So, I'm coaching there. We have a lot of guys on the team coaching there, some CFL guys, NFL guys. So I'm really excited. Like, I'm really excited for that. But yeah, he's somebody you want in your circle. Like, he's somebody that you want in your life because, ever since he's been in my life, man, I've been eating better. I've been reading books. Like, he's somebody that's been really good to me, and I feel like I've given him some good things as well. So great friend, great player, and I think he's gonna be a phenomenal man one day. So yeah,
Of course.
but yeah, that's pretty much that.
Of course. And when you talk about recruitment, NIL deals and everything else, it can be a lot to handle, I'm sure. So taking your own recruitment process into consideration, what advice would you have to share anyone in deciding where they want to play, but also kind of reiterating importance of like grades and stuff when it comes to getting recruited as well?
I would say when it comes to like we're choosing a spot to go to, I have a young bull, one of my closer friends. When I was growing up in high school, I had a mentor, Danny Lockhart. He helped me with 7-on-7. He helped me with some things, I was going through, and I still keep in good contact with him today. But he has three sons, and his youngest son he plays at St. John Bosco, Jordan Lockhart, and that dude is going crazy, man. This dude has offers at Bama, SC, offers all throughout the nation. And this guy, Jordan, I talked to him because Bosco played at Oregon Stadium like the day before us. And he asked me, he was like, man, like I'm kind of debating what school I should go to, and like all this stuff. I just asked him, like, well, what do you want to get into? Like, if football ended tomorrow, what would you do? And he
Hmm.
told me he wanted to be a director. Like, he wanted to get into acting and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, I think SC would be a good spot for you because that's what they're about. Like, you're in the whole scene, you're in the LA scene, right? And that's why my advice would be for these young guys is like, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe like what Kobe Bryant said, right? He said, you put all your eggs in one basket, just make more eggs, right? Like,
Hmm.
and I think about that all the time because it's like for me too, like, I want to go to the NFL. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to go to the NFL. But you can't play football forever. What are you gonna do after football, right? That's
Yeah.
that's where we can do after football. So my advice to these young bulls is, man, go to a school that's gonna help you establish yourself, but establish other things outside of football that you might be interested in, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it could be fishing. Okay, if you want to go fish, go to a school in the South that likes fishing, right? Like go do something that's outside of football that that decision is going to help you build on other things, right? Because football, you can't do football forever. At the end of the day is going to come where you have to retire. So that's what I tell guys is like, if you want to get into coaching, you want to do whatever you want to do, go somewhere that's going to help you establish these things outside of football. That's going to help you build on different interests, right? And that'll be my advice to young guys on building things. And with NIL, I mean, I think NIL is it's a good thing for players, but also could be a bad thing. If you get too much caught up in NIL, you get too much caught up in endorsements and stuff, you might lose sight of the bigger picture, right? I would say, you know, use NIL to make sure that you can take full advantage of your football, your career, but at the same time, never lose sight of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is to play and accomplish your dream and go in the NFL and to really get to that big stage. Cause that's what it's all about. So that'd be my advice to the young guys.
Mm-hmm. And like when transitioning over to life off the field, what's a typical day look like for you during the season and the off season?
So right now we're in the off season, and I'll say this: we have these thing called winter balls for Eastern, and everybody has it's just winter conditioning, and
Mm-hmm.
a typical day at Eastern would be you wake up at 5 a.m. Your winter ball starts at 5:30. We'll usually be outside. It'll probably be like 10 degrees outside, maybe even less, like 6 to 8. We'll be outside. We'll do all types of crazy workouts. You're doing insane stuff, you know, running with plates on your back, arm carrying a guy 30, 40 yards, pushing plates in the snow 40 yards with no gloves,
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff. But so you wake up at 5 a.m., you do winter ball for about an hour, hour and a half. After the winter ball, some guys lift. Me personally, I like to give myself a break. I like to go home, maybe eat breakfast, take a little nap, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Get up, go to my lift. My lift's about 2 hours. After my lift, I'm running routes with the quarterbacks. After that, I'm doing running back drills. And then the next day, I'm doing speed training, and then I'm working out and do the same thing over and over again. Um, and then I would say for during the in season, I would say, you wake up about 6:30, have position meetings at 7 a.m. After position meetings, you might stay, watch film for a little bit, or go home, get some breakfast, come back, watch film. Then you have a lift. You lift, you watch a little bit more film or whatever, and then after that, you have practice. And then after practice, you go back home, eat dinner, come back, watch the film of practice, see what you could have done better, see what you need to build on, and just correlate that with your game plan that weekend. That's pretty much the schedule during season. I mean, season's a little bit it's a little bit hectic sometimes, but when you really look at it, I think me personally, I like the season schedule. Like I think it gets me rolling. Like
Mm-hmm.
Monday we get off, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are really pivotal for your week. You might not have a great first practice, but that second practice, third practice is be good, right? So I think like that feeling of being in season mode, I love that feeling. I like that's what I do it for. So
Of
you know.
course. And additionally, talk about your major. What is it about, but also why you chose it and the possibilities it might have in store for you in your future.
Yeah, so my major right now is it's health and physical education. The reason why I chose this was because I want my ultimate dream, my ultimate plan is to go to the NFL and play as long as I can. Play the game, exhaust my body of football, and then when it's all said and done, go back to my community and be a teacher and a coach and really, really just try to mentor these young kids, mentor them and try to guide them the right way as possible. Like I want to be able to really inspire kids to do things the right way. And then even if they want to do things the right way, but they just don't know how, I would be there to help them, right? Like that's my plan because, when I was in high school, I had 4 different head coaches, 4 different years. Every year I had a different head coach. And it was tough because it was like I would establish a relationship, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll establish another relationship, he's gone. I like this coach, disappears, right? And it was tough because it was like, man, like how am I supposed to trust somebody with my future when I don't know these people? I know these people for a couple months and I don't ever see them again. So it was tough, but what helped me get through that was just, guys that I grew up with that were good, and then people around me, my community that helped me out, and teachers that helped me out. So if I could really establish a good, pathway or communication for other people that are able to communicate with me, where I can help them out, I mean, that would be really inspiring. And then also, I play in the NFL. I come back home. I'm kind of like the hometown hero, right? Like I play in the NFL. I
Yeah.
come home. I donate to my community. Really build up my community, and hopefully, I can really establish that for my community. So yeah.
Of course. And as previously mentioned, you grew up in your hometown of Redlands, California. Just kind of reiterating, what was life like growing up for you and your family there, but also any, favorite memories you had growing up there.
Yeah, I mean Redlands is a pretty good place to live. I mean, it's a real good town. People there are really good. They're really nice to you. It's a really good community, and there's things around it. Like obviously, there's factors that always play where unfortunate things happen. There's places that aren't always safe, but
Yeah.
I would say me growing up in Redlands. I mean, people who know my life. I mean, I grew up. I lived with like 12 people in like a 4-bedroom house. I had my cousins. I grew up with my cousins. I grew up with my aunts and uncles living with me. We had like 8 dogs and like 3 birds, hamsters,
Yeah.
turtles. We had all,
Had
and
everything.
literally, and everybody. The thing about it is everybody, they have their struggle, but when you live in a house with like so much people, it was like we all struggled together, and we all struggled. We got food that struggled together, and we were all there for each other. So um, it was really, it was really wild to grow up and look back and see like the things that the adversity that I faced in my life, but also being able to look back and kind of appreciate the struggle that I went through, and that's the reason why I'm the man I am today. That's why I would never go back and change anything. But even then, just with that being said, like looking back, I have so many memories I could talk about, man. Like I love
Yeah.
my family, love my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, my dad. Um, but really looking back, I mean, there's some memories I could always talk about. But I think my favorite memory for me was when I was a youngin. I was like a freshman or sophomore year. One of my
Hmm.
best friends lived with me, Isaiah Myers. He lived with me, played sports with me, played football as well, and he lived with me, and all my cousins would come, and I just remember like we threw like it was like a party or nothing, but we threw something big at my grandma's house, and my grandma was there, my family was there, but there was probably like at least 70, 80 people there. It was
Yeah.
insane. But I
Yeah.
just remember we would do this, and we would do this like quite a lot too. But I just remember my grandma has she has like a basketball court in her backyard, and
Hmm.
man, we were just hooping from like 1 p.m. to like 10 p.m. and everybody was playing. And it was just we had a barbecue, my grandma has a pool. Like it was really cool. It was probably like my best memory. It was really fun, and I kind of miss times like that. But I'm also working hard so I can rebuild moments like that. So
Of course. And taking a deeper look into Eastern Washington's program as a whole, how do you best describe the program's identity when it comes to athletics, but also expand on what the program has to offer when it comes to providing for their student athletes off the field and supporting them in the classroom?
I would say Eastern is you want to talk about culture, you want to talk about camaraderie, man. I'll tell you this: we went our record this recent year 3-8, I believe.
3-8, yeah.
I mean, the alumni that came back to just see what was going on, like they came back. Like I'm talking about, like a long line of guys came back to talk
Hmm.
to us. Like, hey, that was an off year, but y'all better be pissed off for greatness. Like y'all better come back with the mindset of we're not doing that shit again. And just seeing that, like, that's the reason why I came here was because it was like it's about the culture. It's about keep it going. Like at the end of the day, we're Eastern Washington. Like I'll be in the airport going somewhere, and somebody will see a logo on my backpack. He'd be like, "Oh, you go to Eastern Washington?" I'm talking about I'm in like Arizona or something, or I'm in
Yeah.
Texas. They're like, you go to Eastern Washington? I'm like, yeah, like, oh yeah, that's the Inferno, right? The red turf. And everybody knows about the red turf. It's like it's different. You
Yeah.
play on that turf, you step 1 foot in that turf, you're like, you feel it. It's like, damn, this is different.
Hmm.
And that's what Eastern's all about, man. It's all about culture. It's all about coming together to really push through adversity. And everybody who's played at Eastern knows, like, The refs are not going to help you. The conference, nobody likes you in the conference. Everybody hates us, but we
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, go ahead, hate us. Guess what? We're still gonna go in there and take it home, right? Like, and that's how we all look at it. But you know, looking at like how the coaches they approach, academics and approach like really like your mental capabilities, mental awareness, whatever, mental health. They do a pretty good job. Coach Betts does a really good job of pushing academics. Like our standard here is 3.2 at least. If you don't get to 3.2, that's not the standard. You get any
Hmm.
Fs, you miss practice. You get any bad grades, you're not staying here. And that's the mindset I think that's really good because most of the guys that don't get good grades are also the guys who can't really count on the field,
Hmm.
right? So it's like if you really can count on somebody, you got to be able to look at all aspects of their life and really be able to trust them. So I think that's what our coaches do a good job here, and we got some new coaches, but they've accepted the standard. They're doing a pretty good job of pushing the standard. So if you're at Eastern, I would say you got a pretty good shot at becoming a better man.
Of course. And on top of this, what does it mean to you personally to be able to put on an Eastern Washington uniform each game? But also expand on what it means to be an Eagle, both on and off the field, and what like purpose that uniform serves for you specifically.
When I first got to Eastern, especially as a receiver, the biggest recruitment pitch they had was Cooper Cup, and this
Hmm.
was this was before Super Bowl MVP. This is before 1,000-yard season. This is before Coop was really Coop. I think he was like in his
Yeah.
second year. I think he was in his second season when I got here. It was a year where he tore his ACL and then went to the Super Bowl and they lost.
Hmm.
Um, so I was like, yeah, Coop. I heard of him before. I think I've seen him before out there. I might have used him on Madden, but I don't really know who he was.
Hmm.
And I remember I sat down and I watched an hour long one-on-one tape of him cooking people. I'm talking about, man, if you ever get your hands on this tape, man, it's the craziest tape you'll ever see in your life. Like
Hmm.
he was frying people for like an hour. Like if people understand, like plays are like a one-on-one rep is probably 6 seconds, 5 seconds. This dude had an hour long
Yeah.
of tape of cooking people. Like it's insane. But when I got here, my freshman year, I remember we were kind of like our room was struggling a little bit, just like we weren't making plays in fall camp. Game one's coming up. But I remember our receiver coach Pat McCann, he made this cut up. And it wasn't about just Coop. Like Coop was in there, but it wasn't just Coop. It was Kendrick Bourne, Shaq Hill, Brandon Kaufman, Nick Edwards, so many guys. Like I'm talking
Yeah.
about so many guys, long line of guys, just receivers. And they were just making plays that you would never see before. And it just showed me like being a receiver at Eastern Washington is special. It's different. Like we're receiver you, like we really are. And when you really look at it, it's like being a player now at Eastern as a receiver, it's like I take pride in it every day because I can sit here and say honestly, like in the room, like I'm a starter now, and I can say I started at Eastern Washington as a wide receiver, which has the best legacy FCS wise in the nation, in the history of sports, like for football.
Hmm.
And when you look at it, it's like putting that uniform on and saying I'm a wide receiver for Eastern Washington. Like I take pride in that every single day, and I really appreciate it because the guys before me they set the path for the guys like me that are coming through. And even now, like the guys, the leaders of the room, like me, Nolan Ohm, Robert Mason, Efton Chisholm, like we're trying to establish that legacy for the young guys. We're instilling them in them now. It's like one day it's gonna be your turn, and one day you're gonna have to take the mantle, but you have to be ready for it, and we're gonna prepare you for it. But we're gonna have to hold you to a higher standard because at the end of the day, receivers here are held to a higher standard. Because Cooper Cup, he would work his ass off, but he did that for the room. Kendrick Bourne did the same thing. Brandon Kaufman did the same thing. So it's about being a receiver here. It's about learning the legacy, being a part of the legacy, and then passing on the legacy. So that's why I would say that's why I would say I take pride in being at Eastern.
Of course. And we talked about it before, like your favorite athletes growing up, the Russell Westbrooks, Dwayne Wade, LeBron. But football wise, who did you find yourself watching the highlights of the most and wanting to implement and like draw the most inspiration from into your own game?
Great question. I would say um, I like kind of like scrappy guys. I love guys who are like scrappy. I love guys who are just like just ball hawks. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know ball hawk safety, but like I'm talking about go up and just snatch in the air. Like guys like Andre Johnson, Steve Smith,
Yep.
Larry Fitzgerald. Like these guys were going up and like I got two guys on me. I don't care. I'm still gonna get it right. And I would
Hmm.
say Steve Smith was somebody that I was like I always respected because he could do it all. Routes, got it. Hands, got it. Right. Dominant when he got the ball in his hands. Rack, got it. Like this dude was different. He can move. He can do whatever. You screens,
Spoke
reverse
his
it.
mind whenever he wanted
Yeah.
to, yeah, and kind of backed it
And
up too, yeah.
then he was like his mentality, like I'm gonna dominate you. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk
and I
shit.
don't care, yeah.
Yeah. And then you got guys like Andre Johnson, who's like, you can't name one quarterback he played with, but I mean, he still went for 1,300 yards or 13,000 yards in his career.
And
Like
he'd
he's
fight
still,
any dude. He'd fight any dude
yeah.
at any time, like that
One time
Tennessee
I'm like,
guy.
ooh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
punch you in the mouth and I'm gonna go get 80 on you. Like, you know, and like that
Yeah.
was kind of like that mindset too. And then on the other side of it, it was like Larry Fitzgerald, the guy who wouldn't talk a lot, but he would go out there and do some crazy
He always
stuff. Like,
produced no matter what.
exactly. It was like, because me growing up, you know, like in high school, Larry Fitzgerald was somebody I really like. He's probably my favorite receiver of all time. But when I really like looked at it, you watch his highlights. I mean, you take those ways. I mean, he had Kurt Warner for like 16 games or 18 games, whatever it was. I mean, you look at it, but like, who else do you have in his career? You know, yeah, Carson Palmer was nothing away from Carson. Carson Palmer's a great quarterback, but
Yeah.
He isn't Aaron Rodgers. He isn't
No, yeah.
Brett Favre. You know, like you look at it and like when I was in high school, you know, my quarterbacks weren't quarterbacks. Like I had my junior year, my quarterback was he was a baseball player, and we were like, we need someone who could throw a ball, so we put my
Yeah.
quarterback. You know, and like I was still so my
Yeah.
mindset.
That's kind of high school for you though. You just kind of stick
Exactly.
somebody
Yeah.
somewhere and you're like, you'll play there.
Yeah, exactly. So that mindset I had to have in high school was, I'm gonna come in here, you're gonna throw the ball up, I'm gonna catch it no matter what. And then when I get the ball in my hands, I'm gonna break some tackles, I'm gonna score no matter what. Like that was the mindset I had to have. So those guys, like really growing up and watching those guys, I mean, it was perfect for what I wanted to be and the style I wanted to play. And then even today, I'm trying to get back to that. So those are the guys that really are inspiring to me and really motivated me to be the player I am today.
Course. And like reiterating again, like seeing that the team went 3-8 this past season with the 2-6 conference record, kind of talking about it again, reiterating, what do you personally think needs to happen from yourself along with the coaching staff and your teammates in order to bring the program back to its winning ways like years in the past, but not only next season but beyond that?
So, you know, before, like I said, you know, our last season coming into 2022 or 2021, our 2021 team we had was insane. We had multiple NFL guys. We had Eric Berrier, Tristan, we had Talolo Lima Jones, we had Andrew Boston, we had um, Jackson O'Brien, Ty Graham. We had some guys like our team was deep, like
Hmm.
both sides of the ball. Shoot, even special teams were deep. And then you look at the mindset we had was like, we're gonna show up and we're gonna drop 50 plus or plus on you. And that's what we did. We showed up every game. I think we averaged like 45 points a game or something crazy like that. Number one offense in the nation, easy.
Yeah.
We also had the best quarterback to probably ever play in FCS history. And when you look at that, like our 2020 or going into our 2022 season, our mindset was like, oh yeah, we already have a great team. Like all we have to do is show up. And that was
Yeah.
the problem. And that mindset is what killed us. But this year, what we changed was is a group of guys on the team came together and we're like, look, we're not good enough to we don't have all the talent anymore. You know, we don't have that much talent. We're not that deep. Every guy is gonna have to show up and really execute, do their job. And we're gonna have to be able to trust them to do their job. So a group
And
of
hold
guys
themselves
became
accountable.
exactly. So a group of guys on the team came together, leaders, you know, throughout the different ways. We came together and we were like, you know what we're gonna do. So every Sunday we would meet up, we would talk, we would say what we're gonna do, what we're gonna change, and we've seen some progress already. And
Yeah.
I think that's what like the mindset is what's getting us this year. Like the mindset is what's gonna change. And I think we look at those old Eastern teams that won the national championship, won you know back to back Big Sky Conference championship. It's just like their mentality was, we're gonna come in and we might not have talent, but we're gonna come in and kick you in the fucking mouth. We don't care. And
Yeah.
that was a mentality that they had, and we just got away from that. But I think the difference was we got our ass whooped this last season. Damn near every week was tough.
Yeah.
But now we got a taste of that. We don't ever want to taste that shit again. So
Yeah.
we're coming with a different mentality, and that mentality is we're gonna out hustle you, we're gonna outwork you, we're gonna all this work we're putting in now, it's not for nothing. We're gonna come in, we're gonna just outwit you, and that's the mentality we have, and I think that's gonna take us a long way. But then even the young guys that are seeing the shit we're doing now, they're just gonna we're building them up for us when they become
So they
seniors.
know what to expect and they can hold
They know
others
they
accountable.
operate. So yeah, I think that's
Because,
the
yeah, not to cut you off, but like kind of adding back onto that, like when I played high school, I played like club volleyball and high school volleyball and stuff. Didn't really go the way I wanted it to, but
yeah.
like speaking on like team chemistry and stuff, how important is it to be connected as a group, especially for the young people coming in, to
Yeah.
be on the same page, and like if like they need them in a game, they can trust that they know what they're gonna do. How important is that in your opinion?
Yeah, so last season, I'll tell you this. The last season, I remember, um, we would go to our offensive coordinator and ask him like, "Hey, like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this." And I remember like our OC was kind of like, okay, like he at first he was doing things, but like it wasn't working. Like we would ask him to run this play, and it would be like, oh, like we would run the play and it wouldn't work. And we would go back and watch film and we wonder like, why didn't it work? And we watched the film and like somebody who kept saying something was wrong. They thought this was happening on the defense and it wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like we just started trusting people. We started like just taking too many, like we were allowing too many people to talk and say stuff, but they didn't have a work ethic that they didn't have a work ethic that established that trust. Like they shouldn't have been able to even speak about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to like, our mindset now is like if you're not, we don't see you watching film. We don't see you putting in extra work in the weight room. We don't see you waking up at 5 a.m. like everybody else, go train and do stuff. Like you don't have a say in what's gonna happen or what's gonna go on.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I think the best thing about our team now is like you look at some guys. It's like a majority of our team is really doing these things, and it's really like when I see like, for example, when I see like our safeties, if our safeties come in early and they work out or they do something at 5 a.m., I'm gonna be able to trust our safeties more, right?
Yeah.
I see our linebackers watching film for 3 hours. When they tell me something, I'm like, all right, bro, I've seen you watch film for 3 hours. Like you say something, it makes sense, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think like that's the biggest thing about your team, being able to trust your team, right? Because you know, as a receiver, right, especially in the receiver room, like we all want the ball. Everybody, if you're a receiver, you want to get the ball.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
You want to get glory. You want to catch the ball. You want to score touchdowns. But at the same time, it's about if I run a bubble, is the guy next to me gonna block for me, right? Because in college, you run a bubble, that guy misses that block, that might be your ACL.
Yeah.
That might be concussion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like you look at it, it's like you really got to look to the guy on your right and your left and be like, is he gonna block? Is he gonna block this bubble for me?
Be able to
Is he
trust
gonna?
that he's gonna do what he needs to do and you do what you need
Yeah,
to do.
exactly. If he, is he gonna run the right route so I can get open, or is he gonna run the right route so I don't get killed, right? So, and that's how you got to look at it. And the biggest thing I would say about trust is establishing trust through your actions. Like if you are
Yeah.
working, you're staying loyal to your teammates, you're being a good teammate.
You're
Guys are gonna
showing.
trust.
You're
You. Yeah, and
showing
then
rather than saying, being like, "Oh, I'll
exactly.
do this," but then you're not doing it. So more of actually showing and representing than just saying. Would you
Yeah,
say that?
yeah, and then even then, like for the quarterback, if you're not getting like if you're a receiver, you got to run a 12-yard curl and you run a 10-yard curl. You're not at the spot at the right time. The quarterback's not gonna be able to trust you. He's not gonna throw the ball to you. He doesn't trust you. If you don't,
Mm-hmm.
if you have an option around, you keep consistently making the wrong read. He's not gonna even look to you. Ball snap, he's looking the other direction. He doesn't trust you. So it's just about doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and then even then going beyond and putting the extra work in because you love your teammates and you want to be great yourself. So that's why I would say trust and camaraderie is built off of.
Course. And kind of wrapping up kind of this topic, what or who are you most looking forward to playing with, but also any teams in particular you're especially looking forward to playing this upcoming season?
Um, I would say, I think for me, playing with, I would say Kakoa, our quarterback right now, he is growing into a great leader.
Hmm.
He's going to be a great player one day. This dude he's special. I see something in him, that mindset he has, the mentality he brings to the team. He's just going to go after it. I think he can. I think he can be his potential, man, is limitless. This dude can do some great things. He has a great work. He has a
Work
great work.
ethic.
Yeah, great work ethic. He has a great mentality. And I think like he's a young bull. He's really young right now, but he's growing into being somebody that can be. He might be young, but his mentality, he's got a little wisdom to him. Some
Yeah,
shit to him. So,
he's the mind of a veteran in
exactly.
like a freshman or whatever year he is.
Yeah, he's getting there, and it's like seeing that growth he's had already, man. I think like it's gonna be a breakout year for him. I think he's gonna open a lot of eyes and turn a lot of heads. And then I would say playing against, man, I'm excited to play. Period, man. I mean, I dislocated my elbow, pulling the state last season. So for me, like I didn't really get to finish that itch I had from that season. Like when
Yeah,
you're in mid-season, a lot of guys say, "Oh, you're mid-season, you kind of get tired of it." I don't really get tired of it. I'm like, if I know we're not making playoffs, yeah, you're like, okay, we got 2 more games. Let's get these next 2 weeks all out, whatever. But for me, it was like, I feel like I left so much out there on the table because, I wasn't having the season that I wanted to have. And on top of that, it ended short. I didn't get an opportunity to end the
yeah.
season. So I still have this itch. Like I've had this itch every day of like, I need to get back, right? I can never satisfy this itch or this feeling. So for me, it's like I'm excited to play against anybody. I mean, NDSU, they beat us. I remember they beat us round one versus COVID. I'm never gonna forget that. And then we have some other schools out there that are, they're talking reckless. But I love it. At the end of the day, like, yep. I hope you have that
I mean,
mindset.
that's
I
what
hope you.
sports is. That's what sports is. You're not meant to
Yeah,
you're like respect after the game, but it's not always like, oh, you hurt my feelings. Like that's like sports like teaches you that kind of stuff where it's
yeah,
like people won't
exactly. Yeah,
care and like
yeah,
exactly like that. But
yes, yeah.
oh, are you were going? Still
Nah,
going
so
or
good.
okay.
Like it.
Okay. But looking in the NIL and opportunities, kind of talk about what you've been involved with so far. But is also like on top of that, is there any like dream brand or something you'd want to like partner with that like has a lot of meaning to you?
So right now, I think like we're doing this team thing. Right now it's like Whoop. You know what Whoop is? It's a Whoop band. It's like for your health.
Okay.
It's like a it reads
Like
your
a
sleep. It
okay.
reads your sleep, your heart rate, your activity levels. It helps you like monitor your stress levels, right? And kind of it gives you tips on the way. Whoop is something that I've been with for I've been with since fall, so I'll probably say 6 months, 7 months now. So I've been with them for a while.
Hmm.
They've been really good to me. They've been doing some good things for us, and it's not just me. It's a couple other guys in the team. So they've been doing some really good things for us. And I've really been enjoying it. It's been really useful and really been helping me in my game. And if I get a bad night of sleep, it tells me like you need to be in bed by 10 and go to
Yeah.
bed this. Wake up, your recovery rate will be
Kind of
this.
holds you responsible, kind of. It's like having a
Yeah,
person there, but like I mean that's kind of scary sometimes though, but like I
it
mean
is.
it helps, but sometimes you're like, I don't want it knowing
Yeah,
this, but like
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then I think the most recent ideal we had or I had was we did like with the Eastern had dropped this merch through this company called I think it's called Influx.
yeah.
But this company, yeah, they've been doing merch for our football team and stuff like that. And they've been selling like you can buy like a shirt with our name on it, our number on it and stuff. So like that's been pretty good. And, that's actually pretty exciting. My family can actually wear my jerseys and shirts and
Yeah.
stuff now. Hoodies my name on it. So that's been really cool and stuff like that. I mean, at Eastern, you're not going to get a lot of NIL deals. I mean, unless you're kind of just like, the next Cooper Cup or something. But
Yeah.
I, I think with NIL for me, it's like the deals for me that I would really like look into is just stuff that like I could help the community. Like
Yeah.
I could do stuff where I can go do community projects and kind of really just give back to the community and stuff. And that's what I plan on doing whenever I go to the NFL. Like I'm gonna start my own, foundation where I can really start helping people and do some real change in this world. So yeah.
Of course, and kind of adding on to that, like kind of the NIL world, but like a little bit off the topic, with like team events and stuff like that. What do what do like being able to participate in those events and being around, younger kids kind of teach you about yourself, your mentality, and your like outlook on life as a whole?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story. My freshman year, it was my freshman year. I remember, I'll never forget. It was like right after season ended, in winter. I got an opportunity to go to the hospital. It's like right off the freeway. I think it was St. Jude's Hospital. I can't remember what it's called, but
Hmm.
might be Deaconess. But we go to this hospital. It's for community service to go talk to these sick kids. And I just remember like talking to these kids, man. They were, some were on their deathbed, some were, really sick, and they were really like fighting to get better. And then I already had my son at the time, so I'm like talking to these kids, I'm laughing with them, reading them books, and this one kid played a song for me, and it was really like heartwarming, but it was more of like it just showed me like how much things I took for granted and like how
Hmm.
much like the average person takes for granted, and like because even my son being born healthy, I remember like thinking about it like, oh, like, this is how it's supposed to be. But then like I've had family members who had kids and their kids were like premature or like there was a complicated, delivery,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So many things happened. It was just like I was really blessed, like not only for myself to be healthy, but for like somebody that I love so much to be healthy, right? And like my family now is healthy. So it's like you just take things for granted and like that really changed my perspective on life. Like I always like I remember ever since then, like my perspective has changed. Like I wake up every day and I just thank God. Like I thank God for everything He's done for me. And like every time anything, even when some, if something bad happens in my life, like when I dislocated my elbow, I wasn't sitting there like mad at God. I just told God, I was like, look, I know this is a learning lesson for me. I know this is something that you need to put me through. I love you. I thank you. Just please help me keep my strength up, and put things in front of me to build me up when I'm down to keep going. So, I always just say I'm grateful, even when I'm going through, tough times. I continue to say I'm grateful, because at the end of the day, it could always be worse. Like I know it's cliche to say, but it could always be worse. It really can. So
Yeah, of course. And looking back more into life off the field, talked a lot about it before, but seeing that you're a father of two, how would you say your like outlook and approach to life in general has changed the most, as well as what your kids mean to you, what you've learned the most, but also what's kind of been most difficult adjusting to life, being a father and being responsible for actual like human beings that are yours?
um, it's been kind of weird because there's nobody that I've never met somebody personally. I mean, I know there's people out there, but I've never met somebody personally that's been in the same predicament as me or same situation as me. Like I never met somebody who plays football or plays any sports that has a kid that
Yeah.
is going to school but also has some other stuff or family problems, whatever the hell's going on. It's like it's been really unique. So for me, it's like, you know, I never let it be an excuse. And I never let people think that they need to pity me because at the end of the day, like for me, it's like it's a decision that I made and I'm happy with my decision. Like I'm grateful for
Yeah.
my kids. Like my kids live with me. They're here right now outside playing in the backyard. Like
Yeah.
seeing them every day is what motivates me, inspires me to work harder, inspires me to be a greater person, a better man, and a better father. I mean, when I got those good grades, like I did it because I'm a father, and I wanted to be able to show my kids one day, like, hey, your daddy was on the dean's list.
Yeah.
I never let it be an excuse. I remember one time, and I was telling you a little bit before about the winter balls. And
Hmm.
my daughter, she was born in July, but she was about 3 or 4 months, I believe, when the winter ball started, and she was going through a sleep regression. I remember, I'll never forget. So for people who aren't familiar with sleep regression is pretty much when like a baby's just like their schedule's off, they can't sleep, like they're just struggling with
Yeah.
sleeping. And I remember like I had to wake up at 5 a.m. and we put my daughter down at 10 p.m. She woke up at like 1 a.m. and she
Hmm.
didn't go to bed until 4 o'clock. And I was up all night. I was
Yeah.
up all night. And I remember like I probably could have slept 45 minutes, but I remember I just stayed up. I was like, you know what? I'll pull a all-nighter. Like I got you. And I got to winter ball and my teammates were looking at me like, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm straight. I was exhausted. I didn't want to tell nobody.
Yeah.
I was so damn tired. And I
Hmm.
remember like I got through the winter ball. I went home. Actually, I lifted right after because I knew if I went home and slept, I was not gonna wake up. I
Yeah.
got home, took a little nap, woke up, went to class. I'm in class, like I couldn't even reopen my eyes and stuff. And
Yeah.
I remember I got home that day, and my fiance, she felt bad, but I remember we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what, like I still wouldn't change it for the world because like now that my daughter's 1 and she's about to be 2, it's like seeing my kids like grow and seeing the smiles on their faces when they wake up and they get to live the life that I can give to them now. It's like it's just the best feeling I ever had. Like it's the best feeling that you can't describe. It's a feeling that like you can't replace. Like and then knowing that like when I go to the NFL, like I'm gonna be able to give them a life that they deserve and a life that's best for them. Like that's what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for everybody who invested in me and gave me an opportunity to get where I'm at today. So yeah, I love my kids, man, and I wouldn't be here without them. So I owe everything to them. So yeah.
Of course. And like on top of this, would you say like being able to succeed in your own life for your own kids, is that kind of one of your favorite parts of being a dad? Or is there any other things that come with that?
I would say my favorite part of being a dad would be, seeing, not only similarities in myself, but also seeing similarities like in my fiance or seeing similarities in like something that my dad did or something that my grandparents do and like
Hmm.
just seeing like these bits and different pieces of just generations and DNA just really get put into a human being and like seeing them grow into their own person. Like, my son's 4 now and just seeing like the different things he likes to do. And, like I'm a football player and he always talks about playing football, but he loves baseball. He loves,
Yeah.
you know, about, like video games. He loves Spider-Man. He loves all these different things. And then also see my daughter, like my daughter's mentality, man. She has like this mama mentality. Like I think she's gonna be whatever she does, she's gonna have some attitude to her, like for
Yeah.
real. So seeing just like that, the way they are, and they're two different personalities, but they're like they come from the same people. And
Yeah.
just
It's
seeing
kind of
that
like
is
some you get that from your dad and like some
yeah,
you get that from your mom or you're just like your
yeah,
dad and stuff like that.
yeah. And it's just really beautiful to see like life just really in front of you grow and evolve. And it's like I just love that. Like my favorite part of like my days waking up and like seeing my kids, asking them like what dream did you have and what did you like about your dream, or talking to them for a little bit and taking them outside. And then my son like he learns stuff so quick, and it's like every time he impresses me, like it makes me so happy because it's like you're learning, and you're developing. And it's just like amazing to see that, and
It
that's
also kind
probably
of solidifies you and like being like you're doing things right and it's not just
yeah,
like
that's a great feeling too. Is like like I like every time like my kids like tell me they love me or they want to be around me, they want me to go outside, they want me to play with them. Like, sometimes like I might be tired, but then like when I realize it, I'm like, you know what? This human being wants to spend time with me. Like this is
it
somebody
may
that
not always be like that too.
yeah,
But
exactly.
they'll grow certain things. So like cherishing while you still have
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And that's like the most fulfilling thing too, is like this person wants to spend time with me. Like when I walk through the door, they're not like, Daddy, did you do good at football today? It's like, Daddy, you're home to see me. So that's
Yeah.
what I love about being a father.
Yeah, of course. And if you're able to find any time like besides being a father as well as a collegiate athlete, what do you like to do to take your mind off of things and just be able to reset at the end of any given day?
Um, Things I like to do. I like to like when I was in California, I used to always go to the beach. Like the beach is like my home. Like if I got a beach where I can go, ride the waves for hours, boogie board, surf, play in the sand, relax in the sun. Like that's something I always enjoy doing. But unfortunately, Washington doesn't really have any legit beaches out here. But
Yeah.
something something I found out since I've been out here is like something that's helped me get away is just really taking my kids just putting them in different environments. Like if I take my kids hiking or I take them to like go see like the little zoo or take them somewhere where like all I can think about is my family, think about what's gonna make them happy and enjoying this experience, enjoying these different memories. Like it kind of takes my mind away from football, school, and everything. And then even then, like I also enjoy. I love going to the movies. Like I love going to watch a movie, right? Like you go in the movies, you don't know what to expect. You're sitting there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there like you're just enjoying the movie, thinking about what's going on the screen. Like you're not really thinking about everything else. You're just thinking about
Yeah.
like, wow, I like this, I like
You're in
that.
a
So
dark room for like 2 hours,
yeah,
like no light, just
yeah,
sitting there.
yeah. That's something I like to do is go to the movies for sure. So yeah.
Of course. And when talking about accomplishments, you've mentioned some off the field stuff, but in addition to that, what are you most proud of off the field, whether that be academically, socially, or something different?
Um, Something I'm most proud of is I would just kind of say, I'll probably say just everything that I've accomplished just as a man, like everything that I've been through, um, throughout my life and then being able to really get to where I'm at today. Like I'm about to get my degree.
Hmm.
If I make it to the NFL or I don't, at the end of the day, I could say that I felt like I did things the best way I could. And even then, like to say that I'm a good father and I got my degree and I'm moving in that right direction. Like where I'm from, like not a lot of people could say they did that. Like not a lot of people could say they're doing the things the right way and they're not doing the things that other people are telling them they should be doing, right? Like that's something that I can really appreciate because it's like really looking at it, it's like there's not a lot of people that are doing this. So I really can just be say sometimes I just sit down and say like I'm proud of myself, like, and it's
Hmm.
okay that I'm human. I'm not gonna always be perfect. I'm not always gonna say the right things or do the right things, but to really be like, okay, man, you're doing the right things. Just keep going. So that's really it.
Of course. And like on top of this, what would you say the kind of lessons you've learned or been able to, learn and like be able to experience being able to play football that you feel you wouldn't have been able to experience if you weren't to play sports?
First one that comes to my mind is this. Like, I mean, football. Like, if you play football, you have to have discipline. And people think like discipline means like, oh, like if you're late to a meeting or you're late to a workout, like there's punishments. Like, yeah, for sure, there's punishments. There's always gonna be punishments for everything. But I mean, discipline on the field, discipline when you're under a lot of pressure. Like really having that, being able to like slow time down in your head and being able to really try to do things the right way, like that pressure and being able to execute under pressure, like that's a feeling that a lot of people don't know how to really, you know, overcome, like, and I
Hmm.
think that's another thing too, is like you talk about discipline, but it's also about just like really overcoming obstacles. Like as a student athlete, I mean, you got school, you got football, you got, life, you got relationships you gotta handle. Like being able to handle your time and being able to find the right way to maneuver through your time. And it's not just football; it's Division 1. I mean, sports, but football I think is the hardest, right? Because football, the workload, the physical toll it takes on your body, like mentally, sometimes mentally you can kind of start losing yourself a little bit. And that's like another thing you have to figure out yourself is like developing your own mind, developing you know, your own person to where like you know how to handle things the right way. And football, I mean, that's really what it is. It's just really trying to figure out how to overcome every obstacle that's on your way. So football is in its own. I think it's its own tier for sure.
Of course. And while on the topic of the NFL, if you were asked by a scout or a coach what you're capable of, we can add to a roster, but why they should look into you specifically, how would you respond? What would they be getting out of you, not just as an athlete on the field, but as an individual off the field and in the community?
I think when you look at me, I think you look at my talent, my potential, what I can bring to the table. I mean, I'm a guy who could blow the top off. I'm a guy who can go up and make a catch when you need it. I'm a guy who can, one on one. I'm a guy who can catch a screen and take 80 yards. But I'm also a guy, that's not gonna mess up outside the field. I'm not gonna guy that's gonna go to the bars, get drunk on a Friday, Saturday night. I'm not the guy that's gonna be in jail on the weekend. I'm not a guy that's gonna be missing meetings, missing lifts. And I'm also the guy that's gonna stay after practice and watch film. I'm also the guy that's gonna be in the training room, in the weight room, doing extra stuff. Like that's the guy I've always been, and I could have my early years in college, I thought I was working hard until I got to people who really worked hard, and I was like, I'm not working as hard as I think I am. And that might be the case now. Like I'm working hard now, but there's also another level I can unlock. So I think when you talk about why, Pascal would have come to me and asked me, I'm like, man, I can bring everything to the table. Whatever you need, I got it. I have everything that you need. I have every tool in my toolbox. I can bring whatever your team needs. And I think that's something that a lot of people can't say.
Hmm. And talked about it a lot before, but the people that mean the most to you in your life growing up, you mentioned your family and obviously your kids and your fiance. But if they were to be listening, what would you have to share with them?
I would say, my dad. I love my dad. I owe my dad a lot. My dad, he was in the military when I was young, so he missed a big part of my life, just because he was stationed in South Korea,
Yeah.
Afghanistan. I think one time he was stationed in Florida for like a year. Like a lot of stuff, he was always gone. But when he retired, I was like 13 or 14 years old. And when he retired, he decided to like really be in my life. Ever since then, and that dude's been nothing but amazing. This dude, I remember, most fathers or most parents, like if you mess up, they're gonna be like drilling you, like, oh, like what are you doing, all that stuff.
Hmm.
My dad would just tell me like, look, man, like what do you want to accomplish? What is it that you want? You
Hmm.
want to do this your whole life? You want to be one of these guys on the corner do
It's gonna
whatever?
lead
Or,
you to this path and stuff like
yeah,
that.
or do you want to be the guy that's gonna play in the NFL one day and everybody's gonna say he did it the right way? And I remember I came home. I remember like I'll never forget this. I came home with a report card. It was terrible. I had like three C's and like a D and then like a A in freaking
Those
weightlifting.
dreaded report cards. Send them,
Yeah,
bring this to your parent and sign the
yeah.
envelope back.
And I came back and my dad, he was like, I wouldn't say he was like my agent, but he was like my manager. Like every
Yeah.
time I met up, he was like sitting down trying to write a plan of how I can become eligible to get this scholarship. And man, he was on my side everywhere I went. Utah State, Eastern, wherever I went, UW, whatever. It was like he was here with me, and he was like always writing down plans and always trying to run different scenarios and always trying to make sure there was a way for me to succeed. And even today, like every time I get home and like I know my fiance had a long day at work. She doesn't want to hear me complain about football. My kid, I can't complain to my kids. I never will.
Yeah.
I have to call somebody, and guess who I call? I call my dad. I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm tired, man. Dad, I'm hurting. Dad, I'm going through this. This is frustrating. My dad would tell me like, you're good. Just keep going. Just keep working. Like God's a plan for you. Things are gonna work out. And like that's somebody that I really love and I really appreciate. And yeah, man, he's the MVP for sure, man. He's helped me out a lot, and I'm really really grateful for him to have him in my life for sure. So yeah.
Of course. And you might have mentioned this before, but what advice that you've gotten in your life so far do you feel has stuck to you the most over time?
I would say, um, there was never really one huge thing that was like that
Yeah.
really changed my perspective in terms of like, one quote or one saying, but the thing that really stuck with me was just looking at people's mistakes and seeing that like there's always somewhere to grow and never be comfortable, never feel entitled, never feel that like you've done enough. Because the second you feel entitled, the second you feel uncomfortable, like something you feel comfortable, it's like that's when you're done for. That's when you go downhill because that's when you really start. You're not that competitiveness, that drive you had, it starts to lose. You start to lose it a little bit. And I
Hmm.
would say that's what I learned at a young age was like, if I get 100 yards in a game, okay, cool, go get 200 the next game, right? If I get 200 the next
Like the
game,
work's not done. It's never
it's
done.
never
It's
done.
always,
If I make it to the NFL, okay, cool. Make
what are
make
you
the
going to do
roster.
from there? Yeah.
Yep. Hey, okay, now get that second contract. Got the second contract. Okay, now go to Hall of Fame, right? Go Hall of Fame, win the Super Bowl. That's my mentality. I won a Super Bowl,
Just
win another
keep
one.
progressing.
Yeah, because there's never gonna be a ceiling. Like you have to keep going. No matter what happens, you have to keep going. No matter what success you see, you keep going. So that's just like
Mhm.
that's something I learned growing up, and that's something I'm gonna instill into my kids and everybody that's around me. So yeah.
Course. And off the field, what is something you want to be able to advocate and use your platform to advocate for going forward?
I would say people who look like me, um, that are struggling and helping them get different things to get them out the streets, right? Like I think a lot of people say that, but just showing that showing young black men and women that you don't have to be an athlete, you don't have to be a singer, you don't have to be an actor. You can do something else that you can be successful at. Like a lot of people care about fame, a lot of people care about being super rich, but like you can make $80,000 a year and you can be good. I mean, yeah, inflation is coming up, and I understand that,
Yeah.
but it's just not about being famous or rich all the time. Because sometimes it's not what you think it is, right?
Hmm.
And then it's like there's a lot of people that don't want to be doctors, lawyers, people that don't want to be teachers, and it's like we need those. We need people in our
Well,
community
I'm
that
a
have.
special education major, so like I see it a lot, especially with, you know, just like all races and stuff. I see that, and that's part of
Yeah,
the reason why I want to try and help with that.
yeah, and it's like you want to, and that's what I wanted. Like that's why I said I want to be a PE teacher. Like I want to instill these in these young guys, like these young people's minds. Is like, bro, you don't have to go to school. You could be a plumber. You could be a construction worker. You can still be successful just because you're not a freaking an actor or a rapper or
Hmm.
selling drugs or something doesn't mean you're not gonna be successful, right? And that's what I want to instill like in a lot of people's minds. And
There's a
I
better
have a
way
pretty
to life than always
yeah.
than the things you've been saying.
Yeah, and then I have a company and a foundation that I'm gonna start up when I do get the opportunity to start it up. So I'm excited for that for sure.
Of course. And when your collegiate career eventually comes to an end, how do you want to be remembered most for during your time at Eastern Washington?
I want to be remembered as a guy who didn't make excuses. He got the job done and he did it the right way. I want to be remembered as the guy who he came in here. He wasn't the most talented. He wasn't the best player, but he worked his ass off to get to where he got, and he made sure everybody around him came up with him instead of putting people around him down. And I want to be remembered as a leader and a captain of this team, honestly. And that's what I want to be remembered as because at the end of the day, like I see a lot of guys come back. There's guys on our team that have parents that played with other alumni. And the alumni come back and like, your dad was a dog, your dad was this, your dad was that.
Hmm.
My son's probably gonna play sports, most likely play sports, and I want them to say your dad did it the right way. Your dad was a dog. He was gonna punch somebody in their mouth, and he was gonna go get 200 on them. Like that's what I want to be remembered as. So yeah.
Of course. And additionally, what would you say is an ultimate goal and mission of yours that you want to be able to fulfill before your time comes to an end at Eastern Washington?
Um, I mean, for me, when you go to East, you walk in the locker room at Eastern Washington, and if anybody's ever been to Eastern, there's a wall. As you walk in the locker room, it's the All American wall. It's probably like 100 guys on that wall. And I would say just to make that wall, like making that wall with my name would be on a plaque on that wall forever, and like that's what I've been inspired to do ever since I got here was to make that wall. And like that's like what I want to do. I want to make the All American wall. Like that's what I need. Like I think about it all the time. And if it wasn't that, then I would say win a Big Sky championship. Like I mean, they went to the Natty the year before I got here, but I never won anything. Like especially in football, like I've never won anything. I never had any jewelry, so I'm chasing that jewelry. I want a ring on my hand. That's what I really want. I want to be able to get a ring and be able to keep that for the rest of my life.
Of course. And last question, when things are all said and done, what do you think you'll miss most about being in college and having the opportunity to play college football at the Division I FCS level?
Um, I would say that camaraderie of my teammates and just like seeing the guys in the locker room, man. Like in high school, for the guys that are in high school right now, like when you leave high school football, they never get that back. And I would tell you this: high school football is probably. I mean, of course, I never made it to the NFL, but high school football is probably the peak of football because it's just strictly fun.
Yeah.
It's just strictly football. It's just fun. Everybody's playing football because they love it. So of course guys are going D1, but they're still playing high school football. People chanting your name every Friday night. You wear your jerseys to school and all that.
Yeah.
And college is a little bit more of a business, especially now. But with college, man, I'm gonna miss the camaraderie, the team, and like really working towards a goal together. Like, everybody. The thing I love about college is when you get to college, you know, in high school, everybody there's some guys trying to go D1, there's some guys that don't really care, some guys just want to be the football team. You get to
Hmm.
college, everybody's trying to make it to the NFL. Everybody has the same goal, winning. Everybody has the same mindset. And that's something I'm probably gonna miss is like everybody just having the same mindset of let's win, let's try to go to the NFL, let's dominate together, let's put this work in, right? And everybody's going through the same experiences. So, I love that about college and I love the guys on my team. I'm gonna just miss those relationships, with the memories. So yeah.
Of course. And once again, Jakobie James, Eastern Washington wide receiver. Jakobie, really appreciate you taking the time today and wish you nothing but the best going forward.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, man. Have a good day.
Of course, you too.